hello to everybody in the other side of that screen. I am Brandon. This is Marcos. And we are just going to kind of record a video and just kind of see where it goes, I guess. We kind of had a lot of conversation before this, so whatever comes out just kind of comes out, I guess. And we'll just kind of see where it goes. I was thinking to just kind of talk about astrology, spirituality, because Marcos over here is a phenomenal tarot reader. He's been doing that for quite some time, and that is how we met. And I gave you an astrology reading, and we just kind of talk about that. And yeah, but so we're just gonna kind of off the wall sort of stuff, and kind of just see where this conversation goes and leads. So if you want to like introduce Mr. Aries self.
Okay, so I'm Marcos. I am a tarot reader in Chicago. I am an Aries sun, Capricorn moon, Cancer rising. And I like crystals.
Cool. Yeah, so like I said, Marcos and I kind of had like a very like candid, open conversation, getting to know each other on a more spiritual level and our spiritual journeys and stuff. And obviously you guys know I'm into astrology and all that stuff. I will be linking his Instagram and things like that, because you also do like crystals.
Yeah, I make jewelry and I offer readings.
Yeah. So I'll definitely link that in the bio / wherever this is going. And we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what. So earlier we were kind of talking about like the whole like 5D and like the events in our world and all that sort of stuff. So I would love to hear from you because we can actually talk about that.
I really want to talk about the 5D thing, because that was something that I feel like I got a grasp on like a couple of years ago in like 2012, 2013. And a lot of the times people didn't really know what I was talking about, and then I would like watch these videos on YouTube of like different like Ralph Smart, Aaron
Doty,
sorry, don't disrespect anyone's name, but anyway,
you're good, you're fine.
I would like watch all these videos and like try to show them to people. A lot of times people were confused as like what 5D even is and like what is 4D, 3D, and all these other things, because when you try to relate that on like in like terms of like I don't know, because we're all 3D objects, and then it's like what does it mean to be a 4D thing or 5D? But the way I understood it was in like terms of like frequency, and like kind of relating that to your chakras.
Okay.
So like you have like your 1D would be like your root chakra and like the energy of that, which would be like security, and like your primal instincts, and then 2D is like your creation and your like sense of pleasure, and then like your sense of self, 3D, and then 4D emotion, 5D is speaking things into existence, and then above and so on. So I think for a long time, like, the planet has been stuck in, like, 1 to 3D. And you can see that with, like, we've always had wars, and we had, like, a lot of ego issues, and right now, because the planet itself is changing and elevating its own frequency, like at Gaia, she's going from, 3D to 4D, 5D. And because we're in her body, we are also doing the same thing. And it's you could see it now more than ever. Like back then when I would talk about it, my friends are like, what the hell are you smoking? And where's your dealer?
Exactly.
So like it didn't really make sense, but now it's like you could like explain it to someone and show them like, since that time, and it's really cool that I could talk about this like now, because since then I've seen a lot more people becoming like vegans and like going for more natural products, and people speaking up on like social justice issues, now more than ever.
Absolutely.
And I think I attribute that like speaking up part to more like 5D things.
Yeah, of course.
Because that's related to
Robles.
Yeah. And then like the vegan stuff, more like heart chakra.
Like really connected to the body in like a very natural way that was like an ancient way that was what we used like before and everything.
Yeah. And then like understanding like, you know, like the emotions of the animal you're eating, the ethics behind it. Definitely like 4D stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything's energy and everything's an energy transfer, even if it's not, you're not physically there when the animal's slaughtered, or you're not, you know, doing it when you consume that animal. You are consuming that energy and that fear and all that stuff. And like something that happened to me when I was in my spiritual community, there was a lot of vegans, and I was actually kind of previously dating a guy that was very, very vegan, and he was talking about like how like his whole thing is, you know, there's no animal cruelty and all that stuff. And for me, based off of like my health issues, I don't have to eat meat, but it's a lot easier for me to eat meat for my digestion, or at least slowly transition to veganism. So what I did at the time was as I was eating, it was a very like conscious moment where I would like thank the animal for like its service or its death or like whatever, and I would just be very present while I was, you know, it's the way I explained it was like I would have like kind of like a moment of like appreciation for the death, like kind of like a funeral of that animal, you know, because I think a lot of those animals in those moments aren't appreciated, they're just killed for their meat, and then like having that moment of like really appreciating it while you're consuming it, and really like trying to send love to that animal while you're consuming it is like really positive, and then like you're like putting love onto something that you're then consuming, so it's just like it's a constant like cycle, and then it like goes through and it makes it feel like, yes, you're still eating meat, but like you're kind of transmuting that fear with your own energy into like love and appreciation for their life, you know what I mean? And I've done that mainly with I don't eat any like red meat, like I don't eat beef, I don't like, very, very, very rarely I don't. I mainly eat like chicken, fish, like salad and stuff, and like I don't like, because there are a lot of like hardcore vegans that are like, no honey, no like, and I get that, I totally get it, I respect it, but it's like at the same time it's like it's not for everybody. You know,
I definitely do that because there was times where I was vegan and then I was vegetarian, and I just kind of forgot about it altogether because there was just so much to keep track of all the time.
It's
like constantly reading labels and all that, and then I just kind of transitioned more to like what you do is just like, you know, healing the food first, and like and I kind of got this idea because I would watch, it came from like Christianity, where I would watch people like pray over their food. And then I like took that concept and I was like, you know, like it is kind of smart because you're thinking the animal and where it came from and what happened to it, and healing that before you allow it into your vessel.
Okay, it's really cool. Like everything's always really interesting. There's always different ways to like connect to energy and animals and nature and things like that. Because animals are very, very like intuitive, and I don't know if you know this, but like the trauma responses for animals, they shake off those very, very easily. And like there's gazelles that are chased by lions and have to run for their lives and are terrified, and they have all this fear running through them and adrenaline, and then they escape, and then they just kind of like have a moment, and they just like have this very like cathartic, like intuitive sort of way of healing their body, and then it just kind of, then they just move about their day, and they don't remember. They remember there's a lion there, but they're not like apprehensive to go in that direction. Whereas humans are like, oh, this person hurt me, I'm not gonna go this way, or whatever, like, you know what I mean, or like an abusive ex, or whatever, like whatever situational thing, because our minds are like higher processing, so we have like this way of like looking at things and being like, oh, that is a threat, so I'm literally going to avoid that threat instead of like facing it and integrating it and like going through it like we talked about earlier, you know. And yeah, it's just super cool, like to just see how like everything connects, and like and just the way that like emotions and the way humans work is so unique and fascinating, and I think it's just so cool to meet people, especially people like you. Like I think it's so awesome, like to meet people that are like on the same wavelength and that are like really grounded and centered and like know their shit, and they're not just like up in the stars and like not grounded in reality and don't understand like you still have to like, you know, exist and take care of your needs and take care of your human body, you know, because there's way more than just energetics. Like there's the physical 3D dimension that unfortunately or fortunately we live in. You know, so it's very like it's important to really honor that, but also know that there's more out there. You know, so
I agree with that.
yeah.
I feel like eventually we'll probably get to be able to exist in more higher states.
Oh, absolutely.
But right now we are 3D, 4D, looking at the time.
Yeah. Do you know much about like the whole like is it gamma waves? Is that the sort of thing? That whole thing, or like I'm asking, so I don't know. That's why I'm I don't know, like the whole gamma waves / like the whole just transitioning into like the whole like starseed thing that we kind of talked about, and that whole like shift of consciousness.
Because I've heard of stuff saying that we are like crystallizing and like our molecular structures changing to something that's like less dense.
What do you think that means?
Well, I think that also ties to like the 4D, 5D thing as well, because I think I didn't really too much about like the crystallizing stuff, but I think what they were talking about there is just like becoming like less dense, and I think like the lower you go in frequency, the more dense things are, because like think about like what really lives in like 1D would be like rocks, minerals, and like that sort of thing, and then like 2D would be like animals, and then 3D is where you have more like human consciousness, but you know we aren't really like meant to stay in that level.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like that's a very like early human thing, because it almost seems like kind of like a toddler, like when they go around everything like mine, and
Oh yeah.
and they relate to the world in a very like me sort of way.
Yeah. Very Aries way.
Yeah. I definitely I have learned to like work with that, because a lot of times, and then like I recognize that I could be a little annoying sometimes to people, because I relate to them in like a very like me, and like they'll give me a story and be like, yeah, I know what that means because I went through it too, and then like I talk about it in that sort of way, but then you know I sometimes I'm like, oh my god, like I'm so like self-centered and stuff like a typical Aries would be, but I also recognize that like that is just how I operate, and that's how I understand things, is through myself. So, and like I can't really understand someone unless I go through it myself. Like I can think about it, but unless I have my own feelings to base that off of, like I can't represent what I'm feeling.
Absolutely. Like the whole like seeing like other people's experiences and relating to it based off of what you went through, like, you know, like being like coming out, you know, like that whole sort of thing, or like, you know, you relate to other people that have come out, obviously, because you have similar experiences, you know, and there's like your heritage, and there's like your family that has their own like way about that, you know, that you relate to your family differently, and like it's just super cool. I mean, I think it's cool. I wish I had more Aries personally. I mean, I have a lot of like first house shit, like a lot, or like I'm supposed to actually move into that energy, like be more Aries like, and be more like a leader and like all that sort of stuff, which I don't get in there, but I lean more into like the Libra shit, and like the like, oh, let me just tell me about you, and just talk about you, don't have any focus on me, you know what I mean? Like it's a very like Libra thing, and it's very different for me to like have to like be around people that are like, you're like one of the only, let me think, yeah, you're like one of the only Aries like people I know that I've like connected with, because normally like legit long time ago I used to like absolutely hate Aries and absolutely despise Leos. Like I would hate Leos, and now like 3 of my best friends are Leos, or they have a lot like all of my friends have like Leo placements or like heavy Leo shit, or they are Leos, and then like I've never really like vibed with an Aries to the point where I'm like, oh, they're not just like, you know, Aries, like they have other shit, you know what I mean? Like and that's where like it's just interesting how like it's evolved, you know, like I think astrologically, like people are like, oh, you know, like when you're so like in your head, you're like, no, like, you know, like I hate Virgos, or I hate, you know, Scorpios or whatever, because of one specific Scorpio or one specific Virgo or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People don't realize that there's so much more to like astrology and like the the way that like it functions, and like there's like your moon sign, and there's all these other aspects to it that people are like avoiding, and they're like, yeah, it's just, you know, it's just, you're just an Aries, and it's like, no, you're not. Like, you're so much more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what I think about too when people say like, oh, I don't like a specific zodiac, but then it's like kind of, if you go deeper, I feel like sometimes it's not their sun sign they're having conflict with. It's like maybe how the like whatever placement their Mercury is, or something like that.
Yeah, the Mars.
Yeah. It's where it's like causing conflict, and then they think, well, that person is, you know, just their sun sign. So I'm going to stay away from all kinds of people with the same sun sign.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's like super interesting about everything, is because it's such a complex system that even like going very deeply into astrology or even tarot, like I don't really know much about tarot. We'll talk about that in a second, but like with astrology, like it's very, you can always find more and more and more, and it's like never satisfied, because you never really get all the true answers, because there's always, you know, like there's also, you know, psychology, and there's like the whole like that area that people like ignore, and there's astrologers that are just like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna base everything off of the transits that are going on and everything, and it's like, but there's also psychology, and there's sociology, and there's different things that are going on that affect that person differently than just their astrology. Yes, it has a great impact, but there's other things as well. But I've never really talked about tarot with you, so I want to actually hear about it, because I've never actually learned about tarot, like really, like from the back tarot person. So.
It's really interesting, because the cards are always right. You know, and I think about that because like when I first started doing readings on myself, I always had to like go through the book or Google it. But no matter what, the card itself laying down or whatever I picked was always accurate. Whether if I knew the explanation of it or not, it was always accurate. And then especially like when I first started doing them, the imagery would speak to me most out of everything. And I, like before I would even like look up what the card meant, I would kind of already know what the universe was saying to me just because of the picture. And I still kind of use that method a lot of times when I and it's actually, this is where my, like the more intuitive things happen, where, because like tarot could be like very what's the word, like there's like a method to it, because each card is, you know, it represents a specific thing, right? And if you learn what each meaning of each card means, you could like easily read them. But where like the intuitive like magic aspect comes in is when you are able to like look at the picture and just make guesses or intuitive insights on someone's life just because of the picture. And I do it a lot where like I'll like read them and I'll like say what the card means, but then I'll be like, well, like say it's like about a relationship, and I notice that there's like a little crab in the picture, and I'll be like, okay, so I think that this person you're about to date is a Cancer. And then they'll be like, oh my god, like, yeah, this person I'm talking to was like born on this day, and they are a Cancer. And then like that's where like the like intuitive like aspect comes in, where you just feel really drawn to a specific image, or even like colors, or like I'll even like look at the what time of the year the person is in the picture, and that'll give me like, I'll be like, well, this looks like it's somewhere in October, so whatever this is talking about is going to happen to you in
wow, okay,
3 months or something.
I know that was
and then like when I say stuff like that, and I'm just going based off like my own feeling and like recognizing that my eye keeps getting drawn to that, and it's like more often than not accurate. You know, like I just said, like the person was like, yeah, wow, like that the person I'm talking to is a Cancer, or I actually made that guess with someone, another like relationship reading, that the very popular reading is relationships. Well, like I was reading a boss of mine actually, and she was curious about her love life, and I told her, I was like, yeah, I think you'll meet someone in the fall because of like the way that there's like leaves on the ground in this tarot card. And it definitely feels like a twin flame soulmate situation.
Oh, I love that.
She was represented by the Queen of Wands, and then we had like stuff going on, and then it led up to her meeting the King of Wands.
Oh, okay,
So I was like, yeah, this seems like, you know, a divine like situation happening. Between this person, but you won't meet them to the fall because it looks like in all these images, like it goes from like summer to winter, and then like you go through like a whole like here, and then like then it shows here, then the person.
Yeah. So like, what is your like perspective? Because we haven't really talked about like twin flames and like soulmates and stuff. Like, what is your like perspective or experience with like that and that? What do you think about those things?
Well, I feel like we have a lot of like soulmates. I kind of think of that term as like just someone, like soulmates could be platonic. I think, you know, and you just, I think we were talking about this earlier, where before you are incarnated into this body, you kind of have an agreement and you sign these contracts with other souls and how they're gonna, and who they're gonna be in your life. Yeah, and I feel like in a way that's a soulmate. You know, like my siblings and my parents and my best friends are soulmates because we knew each other on a higher plane and we chose to incarnate here and interact and go through life things together.
Yeah.
So that's what I think a soulmate is just like someone you made a contract with. And then there's like twin flames where I feel like that's more, and not always, but I feel like it's more in like the romantic realm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
And from like what my understanding is it's usually someone who is like a romantic interest and kind of like is very much like you or like mirrors you in a lot of ways. And there's typically some sort of like meeting and then you guys like having a whole lot of energy, and then like I think about the flame itself where you guys kind of like are one flame and another flame growing to being a big flame, and then ends up being this really passionate experience between the both of you, but then like also very destructive.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You're dealing with that like fire energy, and then like it, you know, something happens, and then boom, you guys probably have to go separate ways or break up or whatever the case is, and like there's like that like diminishing of the flames. And I think that kind of happens because like in my experience, because I think I've met twin flames and I've had experiences like that. Oh, hello.
That's all right. That happened. All right.
Where I think I've like met like twin flames and stuff, and then it's always the same pattern of like you guys meet, really passionate, great, something happens, you guys go through a conflict, break up, and then it almost feels like your flame is diminished, and then you have to like, I think the lesson is to like kind of like build up on yourself again, and like learn how to just be ignited without any sort of help or like how like that ignition being reliant on somebody else.
Being able to like be like self-sufficient, and like build yourself up to the point that you can be an individual and you can function without that twin flame. So I think twin flames, I mean, in my experience, I don't think I've experienced twin flame. I've experienced very karmic, like very deep like relationships and things, very deep connections. But to me, I think twin flames are very like, I think twin flames are a very like the ends of the ones that just like it just feels so natural, and it's not like a I don't know, like it just feels smooth. It just feels like it grows. But I don't know. I think I've never really like in my mind experienced like a twin flame thing, so I've never really felt like I could really speak on it. But my thing is I've really felt that like soulmates can kind of, I mean, they can kind of, I don't know if they can turn into twin flames, but I think that soulmates are definitely a thing, you know, and like you said, like platonic or romantic, like the friendship, family, the thing, but I think it can definitely turn into something better and it can like develop. But I do agree that most twin flames are like very passionate, very intense and all that, and I have had some of those relationships, but I've never had them to the point where it's like really like destroyed me. You know, I think a lot of it came from like me doing it to myself. You know, not so much them. I mean, yeah, they were a part of it, but I think I like gave them the power to do that to me, and like
that's true.
All that sort of stuff, and that's like a whole like Scorpio Aries thing. But honestly, and that's really where I've kind of been. But I think that twin flames, I know I can like I don't know if it's the same for you, but like I can feel like my soulmates out there. Like I can feel them, and I can kind of have a vibe for them. And then like when I meet people like that, or I meet people and I like can really see them, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm like yes, and it like feels like part of the puzzle like kind of like clicks together, whether that's like a romantic relationship or a platonic relationship or whatever. It just kind of like clicks, and that's a soulmate. And that could be, you know, a complete stranger, that could be someone over social media, or a random customer, or someone you work with, or, you know, someone in passing, and they could teach you something. And like, you know, like there was this guy that I met like before COVID, like a long time ago, and he was at the bar, and I just kept like being drawn to him, and I was like, I don't know why, but I just want to talk to him. And I've never really been like, I am like a semi-confident person. I'm not like the most, but I'm getting there. And I remember I was sitting there, I was in my head, and I was like, you know, like, I don't know what his story is, like, I don't know him, but I just really want to talk to him. And the thing I kept hearing in my head was like, you don't know where someone's from, you don't know their story, you have to just approach them and get to know them and just see where it goes. And I approached him, and I was like, I feel like I know you, and like we just ended up talking for like an hour and a half. And it turns out he's like from like the Middle East, and he was here for like vacation. He had like this really eclectic, cool life. And yeah, and it's like, and now I have like a friend with that, and it was really, really cool just to like listen to that intuition and like really meet someone and like take that action and be like, hey, like I'm gonna like meet you or whatever, and just see where it develops. So I think that's like the most exciting part too about like relationships and life in general, to just let it kind of unfold naturally, you know, and just see where things lie and what happens. And although, yeah, people like us that, you know, are intuitive and have astrology or tarot or whatever, then you can like really look into that. I think it kind of takes the mystery away a little bit, to be able to like be like, oh, okay, like I'm just gonna let this kind of unfold, instead of, because there are some people, I don't know if you do it, but like there are some people, and I used to do it, where like you would constantly be asking the cards or asking astrology or trying to figure it out, because you're like obsessed with like that that sense of like calmness or relief and like knowing and trusting, you know. And I think it really just comes from self-trust and being able to trust that, and being able to put that and transpose that moving forward into your relationships or into your career or whatever it may be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think spiritual people are just trying to like really make sense of the world, you know, and do that for other people, you know?
Sure. There was times where I would be like really obsessed with just throwing cards for whatever situation, but I kind of learned that I don't know, at some point I feel like the cards just stop, and they're just like
they're like honey.
Relax.
Yeah, it's very
Can't know
overwhelming.
everything all the time.
Yeah,
And you're not supposed to.
yeah, and that's that's something I had to learn, or I'm still learning with my whole, I don't know if you know about my chart, but I have like Mercury and Sag, and then I also have it squaring Jupiter. So it's like a lot of Jupiter energy with like my Mercury, so my mind is always like getting bigger, and like that's what happened with my stuff, was I was getting so like out of this world, I guess, and for lack of a better word, and like very like out of my body, and trying to understand everything all the time, and like get to these points, and it's like, and then the universe is like, hey, like slow the fuck down. Like you're not gonna get there right now.
Yeah.
Like you have to go through some shit. You can't just do it all in your head. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're trying to reach sentience as a human. Try again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's totally totally a thing, and it's like, and that's why like I love astrology for that reason, because it's like it's taught me so much, and it's been a tool for me. And I don't know if it's the same for you for tarot, but like it's been a tool for me that I've used for my own self-awareness, that I've been able to really understand myself and find answers for myself, so that I know kind of what path to go down. Even though, as we discussed earlier, like my life is kind of always chaotic and everything, but that's kind of what I sign up for, you know, like we talked about. And I think there's just a lot to like take in all the time, you know. Yeah. I don't know. It's just a crazy like life path and shit. Yeah.
I definitely, I don't really like give myself readings, but when I do turn to them, it's usually when I'm just like stumped on something.
Yeah.
And I just really, then I'm like generally coming to spirit for guidance, because I'm just like, I tried everything. As you know, before I went to the cards, like this is like my kind of like last resort. I don't.
Yeah. Did you ever like go to other tarot readers before you started reading for reading for others? Like, did you ever do that, or was it more so you just kind of did it yourself and did the whole Aries thing and just kind of?
Yeah, I don't think I ever got a reading from someone else before I did it on myself. I think I just got readings, or I just gave myself readings from like my own deck, and then I got readings afterwards from other people. Because at the same time too, like at that point in my life, I was very skeptical. And then like I think I would just like do readings privately and just like not really like talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I was at the same time like trying it out, but then like seeing if it worked or was real and all that. Turns out it was.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is too, it's all about belief, you know, and if you really believe in that stuff, and that's not just for, you know, like, because I'm sure being a tarot reader, you probably run into people that don't really believe in it, you know, and kind of do some pushback, and like
that definitely shows in the reading. Their readings are very dry, versus someone who, and which leaves more room for them to be skeptical, because they're like, oh, well, like, people could say that about anyone, you know, and like then they go that route. It's like, well, whatever, I guess. Like, you didn't really want to get a reading anyway. So like,
yeah, they just kind of did it for shits and giggles. They didn't really. And that's the thing too. If you go into a reading with like intention, like with getting something out of it, even if it is just like, hey, I want to learn about relationships or career or whatever, like it's better to have an intention going into anything, and then have the reader or whatever be like, hey, like, let's focus on that, you know? So if you just give like an astrologer or a tarot reader, like, just give me a general reading, like, yeah, it's still going to probably resonate, but it's not going to resonate to the same extent as if you're like, hey, can we focus on like this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely, like, whenever I give readings, I always tell people, like, do you have a question? And then, you know, sometimes people are just trying it out, so they just go like the general route, and those are, not as deep as like someone who actually has a question.
Yeah, and it's all about like engagement and really like having them feel comfortable with you to be able to like ask those questions, and you know, you asking those you as a reader asking those questions and engage with them in a way that is like more of a natural conversation. You know, like I don't, like what I do, I mean, you know this, I do like videos, and that's not all the same. Like it's not like this, where like it's you and I talking, and obviously like it's a conversation. Like it's not like when I was talking on the video, it's not like I'm like, yeah, like I'm not getting like feedback from you to be able to be like, yeah, like let's talk about that more. So it's like really interesting, and I always prefer like in-person like readings or like Skype calls or anything that's like more of like an in the moment thing where you can like read the energy and kind of go through it, as opposed to like, okay, like, because I think like for you, because you generally do like in-person stuff, like you don't really do like over like video. I mean, you've done like, I know you've done it like over, but not like to the extent where there's like you don't know when they're gonna get this video sort of thing. Like it's not like in the moment.
There's been some times where like where people were uncomfortable with videos or calling, and I'll just take a picture and then like give them like a little description. But yeah, like the same thing too. It's definitely better to do it live and in person, where you get to have like that feedback.
Yeah.
And not that I like always base stuff on like somebody's reaction, but I could, like, you know, you could see if it's resonating with them or not.
Absolutely.
And then that's kind of like, you know, a signal to you to like dive deeper into that.
Absolutely.
So that definitely helps. But I also like I always also try not to know as much going into a reading. Like a lot of times people will come in, they'll be like, oh my god, so like my boyfriend, and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. So
like,
whoa,
like background stuff.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't want to know these things, because then I feel like I'm just thinking about what you just told me, and then relating that to what the cards are saying, and then it's not as much as of an intuitive reading.
Yeah, it's not genuine and like really connecting to what they need to hear, because they're putting their own like so much of their intention into it. They're like, we need to talk about this. You know what I mean?
They're more so looking for a specific type of answer, and you know, that answer might not actually be the answer they need to hear.
Yep.
So it's like very hard when they're like projecting it.
Yeah, you have to like really let spirit guide you and go in the right direction. And like we were talking about earlier, like people are gonna learn their lesson when they're supposed to learn it, and they're gonna like really get what you were saying maybe months down the road when they get to rewatch it or something like that, or you know, they come back to you and they're like, oh, okay, now it makes more sense. You know, it's just it's hard to like face like your individual reality, and then also be a person that's like giving readings for others, and like it's such an interesting thing, because like there is like connections with people, but it's difficult. What am I trying to say? It's difficult to really be in someone's shoes to be able to really say exactly what's going to work for them to get through to them, because you're always filtering it through your experience. Like, it's the same thing with language. Like, if you had a client that only spoke like Chinese and you don't speak Chinese, it's gonna be, you can't really do your job the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the same thing even within English. You know, like, there's so much that, like, there's so much room for interpretation, and I could say something some way, and you could be a person that reads energy off of what I'm saying, and you're going to interpret it differently based off of the energy behind what I'm saying, not my actual words. And there's other people that aren't like us and like energy people, and are just like, oh, he said this, so he means this, and that's like not always the case. Like, there's so much underlying stuff that people don't always like face and go towards. And I think it's just really crucial and important to have people like us, or even friends, or even other people that are willing to kind of talk with you about those like deeper questions that you have that you might not be able to talk to anyone about. You might not. I know from what you've told me that you have a very supportive spiritual community and friends and things like that that are on that same sort of wavelength. I don't really have a lot of those people because I like lost all of them, and then now I'm kind of like, okay, and like I said, I'm trying to get like back into it, and that's why this conversation is super interesting. And like, this is like flowing much better than I thought it would have, because I was like,
yeah, it's something I keep forgetting that we're like on camera.
yeah, same. I was like, oh yeah, yeah. Like, after a while, it's like, oh, it's just the camera, it's there.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, and I think it's just really cool, like, just having, like I said, like, slowly for me, like, getting back into that during this crazy time that we're going through, you know, and having someone that has a different perspective, that's willing and open to listen. Because I know there's a lot of like psychics and intuitives and stuff that think like they are God, and they are the ones that, like, you know, have the answers, and if you're not listening to them, then it's wrong. And it's like, that's not always the case. That's not how it should be, in my opinion. I think you have to leave room for interpretation and leave room for them to come to their understanding of things, and not everyone's going to resonate with you, and so be it. You know what I mean? And I think tarot is super interesting. I've never personally been like a person that's like, I want to read tarot, like myself. Like, I've never wanted to be a tarot reader. But it's always something, it's very similar to astrology from what I've seen. Because like you said, there's like, you know, the wands, the cups, and like all that stuff.
Yeah.
And like, you have like these different things that represent different stuff. And it's same in astrology. There's like these methods that have like, okay, the moon means this, and, you know, the rising means this. And also, you know, it's very similar. And I just think different people resonate with different stuff. You know, like, there's tarot for different people, for astrology. I've noticed a lot of, I don't know if it's up for you, but a lot of women really resonate with like spiritual stuff, and not really men. And if they are men, they're probably gay or like something along those lines.
Yeah, that's definitely true, especially working at the bar. Like, it's always the girlfriend doing the reading and the guy like being there like, oh, I don't know about that stuff, and then like I'll like give her the reading, and she'd be like, hey babe, like, you see, I've been telling you this. And then I'm just sitting there, and he's just like, I still don't.
Really? Yeah.
It's kind of funny, and I don't know, it feels so like, I don't know, because I see it happen so often, and it's always like a very similar scenario.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know, it makes me like just question people's roles and how like easily you can just fall into the role of like being like a macho, like like masculine guy and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Just being so close to
because like their behavior is definitely learned. And especially because it's like reciprocated with other people, and I see it happen so often.
Especially at a bar. I can only imagine at a bar. That's very like, that's a bar energy. Yeah. Do you really? So, what do you think about like the whole like? I mean, do you think that like what do you think of the whole masculine, feminine sort of energy divide, divine masculine, divine feminine, that sort of?
Yeah. Okay. So that's really interesting, because like that was something too that I learned about, and like early on I would say to like my friends and stuff like, yeah, I have masculine and feminine energies, and they would be like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like you're like a cisgender boy.
Yeah.
And then that's also like where I came to like, you know, understand that I am feminine, and I am also masculine, and you know, changed my pronouns, and I go by he, they, and she. If you know, I say whatever you want to say respectfully.
Oh wow, okay, I didn't know that.
Because there's moments where I am like, yeah, girl, like, like I feel very she, like, and then there's times where I'm like, oh, you know, and it's like very,
I love that.
and it feels very, and then there's sometimes, a lot of times where I feel like in between, and that's like, I feel like I'm resonating with they, like both at the same time.
Yeah.
And I do feel like there's a spectrum, you know, with like, and I also feel like everyone falls in some sort of spectrum of like the masculine and feminine, and like, you know, maybe you resonate more with masculine energy, and maybe you know, sometimes you dive with feminine energy, but not so much. And I think that's like really up to the person. Like, what they want.
Yeah. So do you think like, so when you think of like divine masculine, divine feminine, like do you think of like the certain like representation, but like the way that energy like
sorry, I don't know, I was like my like legs were starting to feel weird, so I'm just squat. maybe this is more of my masculine energy coming through.
But like the whole like masculine thing being like the provider and the protector, and like the whole feminine being like the whole like nurturer and caretaker, and the whole like Cancer Capricorn sort of thing. Because I know you can talk about that because you have the Cancer and Capricorn, and I do too, but you know, you have that Cancer ascendant and the Capricorn moon, and that's like that energy that's super interesting. You know, I don't know how that's played out for you.
Yeah.
Not like an astrological, but also like a energetic sort of way.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I also feel like that ties into more like gender roles, and I think that maybe that's like just things that we assigned as like masculine or feminine.
Okay.
But then I don't know, because like I don't know. Because I don't know. It just gets confusing, because on one end I'm like, yeah, my mom is nurturing and she's a little woman, but then I'm like, well, that's also because she was raised in a society that enforced that.
True. Yeah.
So it's really hard to say it for sure. Like, I don't know if Cancers are like inherently feminine, or like, as I know Aries is like typically like a masculine sign. And,
very masculine, but yeah.
I don't know. I still like struggle with that idea.
Yeah.
I'm stumped.
You're like, it's okay, it's cool, it's not a deal. It's just a conversation. It's no pressure. It's not a deal.
Very good.
I don't know, because I've like talked about like divine masculine, divine feminine and stuff, and like how like, especially as gay males, like you don't like really agreed. You don't on the left. Like you don't really want to. At least there's like a lot of shame with like really stepping into masculinity, and like the whole like mask only shit and like all that stuff in the gay community, and like the whole mask femme thing, and like that's like really like weird, because there's like, some guys that are more feminine, some guys are masculine, there's guys that like try and be like straight acting and like all of that, and it's just like there's so much with our society that's like that wants, like you said, wants men to like be a certain way, and it wants women to be a certain way because they're raised that way, and then like you go against the grain, everyone's like, no, like you can't do that, you know. And that's why it's like, I think it's just interesting to always, like you said, like have, like, you know, that you kind of have both energies, you know, and you're aware of that, and that's much better than most people. Some people are just like, I'm gonna stay a feminine thing, and that's why like transgender people, like I have so much damn respect for them, because they're like I can only imagine like that amount of like strength to like choose to do that life path, choose to do that, you know what I mean, like go through that and say, I'm gonna.
It takes a lot of awareness.
Absolutely.
I always feel like trans people are like, their energy is so high vibe.
Absolutely.
I feel that whenever I'm around, you know, trans people, are just because they have such a beautiful perspective on gender.
Yeah,
and how to perform it.
Yeah, I 10,000% agree with that. Like every single trans man I have met has just a whole different vibe, and I'm like, yes, like it's such a different. Same with trans females. Like it's like I've been so like you said, like they just have a different vibe to them, where they've been through it, and and that makes him so strong and so like different, and you're like, yes, like applaud, and, like so much applause, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just crazy. Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I do feel like, just like the like masculine things. I mean, like, I'm just gonna go say, because I think that there's part of me that wants to be like, oh, this is like, we're learning how to like act a certain way, but then I also feel like there is some sort of truth in like the characteristics of being masculine and characteristics of being feminine. But I think it's like so diluted between like social stuff that like it's almost like I'm not sure 100%.
Yeah.
But like I do feel like there is like kind of a feminine nature to being nurturing. And I think where I was getting confused was like, well, like, you know, people who don't identify as feminine can be nurturing, you know? But then that also ties into the thing where we're saying, well, everyone has masculine and feminine energies, like, because you like identify as being like more like masculine dominant or whatever, you know? It doesn't mean that you don't have nurturing feminine traits.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I also think like a lot of my understanding of like masculine and feminine energies comes from like a point in my life where I was like trying to understand the brain and like the left and right side of the brain, where like is it the left that is more artistic
and the right's more logical.
And I feel like it would be like the right would be more like masculine, the left would be more like feminine.
That's a great way to look at it, honestly. Like, I think that's I think gender roles and that whole divide is so sometimes hard to navigate, and I think it's much better to understand that there should not be a divide, period, between anything, as difficult as sometimes that is to do. I think there should be more of a gray area, and things should kind of be more flowy and stuff like that. It's like people like you and I are like here, you know, to be that kind of like, oh, what are you? I don't really know. You know what I mean? And exactly, yeah. And that's where it's just super interesting. Like, and I think it's better to have connection than division, you know, and that goes for every sort of like relationship or thing, you know, whether it's politics or anything, you know, relationships.
Because like you don't use just half of your brain. You don't just use the right side or the left side.
You would die. You would die. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to function. Yeah.
So there has to be that connection.
Yeah. And there's like left side of your body, right side of your body, and there's this whole thing where the left side is like, one of the sides is like of your actual body is like a like feminine side and the masculine side, and there's like this whole thing is like
I've experienced that with like my hands.
Okay.
That where I received like this lesson.
You have to think. You're like, is this my left hand?
Well, I also was just like feminine. This is my feminine side. Is this side, and then this is my masculine side, and I emulate that with my choice of rings.
Okay.
Do you understand? Like, do you see where
sort of?
Be like, these things would be more like feminine.
I can see that one being more feminine.
Yeah, and then these pointing outwards are but that's because like I had this understanding one time where I receiving and then I gave energy with this. And I felt it so strong in this hand where it felt like there was something that just like going into here.
Absolutely.
And then I was, you know, like receiving it and, you know, kind of this playing around with this energy that I was getting.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to share it with someone because they were like, what are you experiencing? And then I put my hand out and then it came out of my hand and they were able to feel it. And then it just made me think like, you know, like, I was able to receive that from my feminine and then able to share it with my masculine.
Yeah. Does that have to do with your tattoos too?
Then that also has to do with that's another reminder of like the moon and the sun.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's really cool. I really like that.
Thank you. Yeah. I sometimes forget that they're even there and that I had that experience.
Yeah. Do you have any tattoos?
Just those two. Yeah, so far. I want to get more of it.
Yeah.
You know.
That's super cool. Like, I've hand tattoos and like wrist tattoos. I feel like I don't know about this area. I feel like that'd be weird for me personally. Maybe one day, down the road. But yeah, I want to get eventually with all this stuff. This is Scorpio constellation, and so there's 7 stars. I don't know if you can see it, but there's like 7 stars within it. There's that, and this is the seed of life, which is like the 7 circles that all intertwine and has to do with like divine, like or sacred geometry and like that whole sort of thing. And if you actually put a clock up to it, it like matches up like perfectly, and it's like all about like the 7 days of creation and like all that stuff.
Oh yeah, I watched this video by Spirit Science that talked about sacred geometry and like that whole thing. Is that a did you see it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, you're good.
Like, what are you doing?
Just chilling.
Yeah, so and I saw this video about sacred geometry, and I think the way I stumbled upon it was like sound, and then like also looking at it was like somatics, and like when you play a sound and like the sand on like this little like sheet of metal would like move into like making those shapes.
Yeah.
And then I was like looking at like the way babies were made, and like like the zygote goes from like a single cell organism. And then,
I was
not the act.
Yeah, I was like okay, yeah.
So like when it's already like in
like symbiosis, that was called. No. Something like that.
Yeah,
Some medical terms. Yeah.
But I saw like it was like a single cell organism that like split, and then it made that shape as well.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, what the hell is that? And then it kind of like sparked this whole like journey of like learning about sacred geometry.
Yeah.
And like how that symbol is reflective in a lot of things, because that could also be like fruit.
Yep.
And like just many
yeah.
things.
And that's where like there's like legit things. I haven't really looked into it enough, but there's like legit things where the whole like nature is like math. Like it's legitimately like math and like geometry and like all this like intelligent system.
Yeah, and this is where I love psychedelics, because you get to see that, and when you see it with your like real eye, like I mean, with my real eyes, but like when you get to see like the mathematics in things in nature with just what like a drug-induced perception. What the crazy thing is, like it's shared, because there was more often than not I asked other people if I'm tripping with other people, do you see this too? Because it could be an hallucination, right?
Yeah.
But the crazy part is when you see the mathematics of the Earth, and like a lot of times people say like the stars all connect and stuff, and like connect to Earth too. That's like a shared thing that like most people who are tripping could see that.
Yeah.
And I find that like so fascinating, and then it just solidifies that whole idea that like there is the system.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think eventually, I mean, I think we're closer than we think in regards to like reaching that level of understanding with like physics and all that stuff, and like parallel universes and all those sorts of things, because like there's just so much, like there's too much coincidences and too much perfection for it to just be like happenstance or just random. Like there has to be some intelligence that is creating these situations and this divine timing and all that stuff. And like I don't know, like parallel universes, that's a whole other thing. And, like time travel, and like when I was in the whole community, like we talked about time travel and how it actually is like legit a thing, and it hasn't like actually technically manifested yet, in air quotes, because it's in our mind, and you can do it within your mind. And then you go back to your past and stuff. Like that's you literally time traveling within your mind, and it starts in the mind. And anything that based off of like creation and manifestation, everything starts within the mind, and then becomes a thought, and then becomes a word, and then becomes an action, and then becomes a thing. So with that, like the time travel starts in the mind, and it's starting to become like, I don't know if you've seen it on like TikTok or whatever, but there's people that are like, I'm from the year 2029, and this is going to happen on August 27th of this year or whatever, like really interesting things. And it's just really interesting to see, like I'm sure down the road, or even now probably, time travel is like legitimately already happening, and it's just a thing, and we're just like, cool, just accept it, you know what I mean?
You want to visit 1997?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I think that's why like right now, especially right now, like 2020 is such a pivotal time, and so many people are like trying to like change what's going to happen. And I just think it's like going through this year is going to really show us like what is destiny, I guess, or like what is like really going to happen and what was supposed to happen for our planet from the beginning, you know, before all of us were even physically incarnated in this life, you know what I mean, like before we were born. You know, and there's like the Egyptians and all these like different crazy things that you're like, there's no way that just happened, and you just had the technology to do all that stuff, like, you know, however long ago, you know. Yeah, and those specific exact coordinates that like line up. Yeah, just no big deal. Just no intelligence at all. We're just building it to build it. Yeah, I totally. It's crazy. It's super crazy because like it's like it's just a crazy ride, and I'm just like, cool. Happy I signed up for this. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's super fun. It definitely feels like a parallel reality we're living in right now, given the state of the world.
Absolutely.
And I had a lot of this association when like the pandemic first started and COVID like had an outbreak, and because it just felt so unreal. And then we had like articles come out about murder bees, and
John Loki was freaking out about these.
I was
like,
is that gonna kill me?
Yeah.
And then the like aliens were like,
oh yeah, the UFOs were confirmed.
Yeah, you're right.
And they're just like, and no one cared.
And then no one talked about it ever since. It was just like, what even is life? Because we're having all these really weird things happen.
Yeah, and then all these conspiracies and all these like things that are coming up, and all the, you know, the government and all that, like.
Yeah, and then I also have to like think about that and like on a personal level. I was like, I live in a world where I identify as a witch. How weird is that?
Yeah. That is. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that is a very parallel universe, and that's very. Yeah, I didn't think about that. See, that's the thing too. Like identity is such a interesting thing. Like that's part of what I went through my whole thing, and it's another Aries first house thing. Is like identity and like knowing who you are. And yeah, like identity is so crazy. Like when you say like I am this, and you start believing you are that, your reality will start reflecting those things and start consistently showing you those things to solidify that belief, to make you really believe that you are that thing.
Yeah.
And then that's why it's like I am statements are so powerful, and that's why it's also very important, in my opinion, to go out and like meet new people and go to like different places and like do different things to like expand your brain. Because if you just stay in that one thing, in that one town or experience, you're going to keep getting those same things that are going to reconfirm that and kind of solidify you more so in that experience or that like sort of box or whatever you want to call it. And then you're not going to get out of your hometown or get out of whatever. You're not going to see the world or expand your mind or whatever. And a lot of people will go through that and be forced to look at like their own trauma, because they just keep they just get so like
caught in their simulation.
Yeah, and they don't think there's anything out there besides like what they've experienced in their hometown and their thing. And like there's people that don't have opportunity, and like I can only imagine like not living in like America and living in like a third world country or like somewhere that doesn't have like internet. Granted, yes, the internet probably happened in even a couple years with everybody, but it's just really interesting just to see how much we can grow as a human species individually as well as collectively by just expanding our minds, just the internet, all of that sort of stuff, books, and, you know, just listening to our intuition. And I think so many people don't listen to their intuition, and they're just like, oh, they listen to their elders, they listen to, you know, the news, which is a great thing to listen to nowadays, you know, and like that's the whole thing, and you just get caught up in what they feed you the information, and it's called programming for a reason. No, seriously, like legit. So yeah, there's so much. I can really talk about this forever. Like I said, Mercury, Sag, and Jupiter is just like, oh, okay, here, just keep. And I'm just like, you pull back.
My Mercury and Pisces is imagining everything that you're saying right now.
Yeah. You're like in this like visual. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and you have Mars conjunction Mercury too. So like, there's like this like energy of motivation with that too. So you have to like visualize it to be able to put it in action and go and do it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love astrology.
I feel that the most when I dance.
I didn't know you were dancing.
I get very in transient, like I go into like a certain state when I start dancing, like when I'm like just bopping, that's not it. That's not my transient
Yeah, it's
state.
like
But then there's
intuitive
moments-
feeling.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
it's always I see what I'm about to do before I do it, and then I just follow it. I just follow that image in my head, and then it becomes really, I don't know, like it just flows, and I feel like it turns into something like rather than just like me like bopping and then me like interpreting like a sound or
It's more like freedom too. Yeah, it's like freedom of expression and comfort, and able to do that. Dance, I didn't even know that you dance. That was a thing.
Oh yeah, I love that dance.
Yeah, so dance is something that actually really, this is like totally not, well I guess it is spiritual, but it's not really spiritual. So I was going through like, not really a breakup, but like a thing with a guy. Okay, I'm just going to say that for now. And going through a thing with a guy, and I was getting into like the dance scene, like the hip hop dance scene specifically, and there was this choreographer who was coming here, and intuitively I was like, I really need to see her. I don't know why. I've seen to see her. I've seen her dance before on YouTube and Instagram and stuff. I was like, I need to see her. I need to come to this dance class. I don't know why. And I just like was in a trance, and I just like drove there. And I got there and never met her before. She's Cancer. Her birthday's in like, jeez, I should know this. 4 days. Forgot about that. But anywho, so she created such a like beautiful vibe in the room, and she was so supportive. She was very motherly. She was very like she was putting a lot of emotion into the dancing, and she was getting people. It was more like a therapy thing, where she was like getting people to connect with the emotion of the song and connect to like their bodies in an emotional way and just kind of let it flow. It was a very intuitive thing, and she's been dancing forever. She's like from LA and forever. So we were dancing to You by Justin Bieber and David Guetta, and there was like floor work and all this crazy stuff. And I remember at one point, I had a moment where I went on the dance floor. I danced this choreography, but I was feeling all of the stuff that I was feeling with that guy and all the issues and whatever. And I channeled it into the dance. And I have literally never felt so alive in my whole damn life. Like legit. Like it was so cathartic and beautiful, and I could feel the energy of myself, and I felt so connected to like my like that like to myself. Like that was the most like to myself I've ever felt connected ever in my entire life. And I was just letting it all out and just feeling everything. And I remember I was just like thrashing on the floor because there was some floor work and you had to like do like improv or whatever else, like thrashing. And I remember I overheard someone who was like, "Oh my God, you see that guy? You see that guy?" And then I walked off the dance floor, and I was just like crying, like just like ugly crying. Like it was such a beautiful moment. So, and then I took a picture with her afterwards, and I was like, "Hey," and I just intuitively was like, "I just want to tell you, like, you came to my life at the perfect time. Like, I needed this class so much." And she is actually now one of my friends, kind of. I loosely friends. I don't really know, but I went out to LA to see her on Valentine's Day, and I danced with her. We went out to dinner, and like, she's so sweet. I love her, and she remembers that moment that I had because she saw it, and we talked about it last time I was there in LA. She was like, "Yeah, I remember that," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm chasing that. Like, I want that again. Like, I want that so badly." And I specifically went to LA to take a dance weekend with like a bunch of people, and specifically her as well. And I'm like, I just love her so much. She's so phenomenal, and her energy is so great. But the point I'm saying is that like that was such an emotionally connective moment for me that I will forever cherish that for the rest of my life. And I know she knows that, and I know she's probably watching this. No, like legit. No, like I don't know if she's watching this much of it, but like she has. She's impacted me so much. And like when you really bare your soul in that sort of way in that moment, like she really saw who I was, and she really felt my like soul, my presence, and that's why she I mean, I don't know exactly her, and I haven't explicitly talked about it, but like I know that's what she saw that, she felt that, and that's what made her want to connect to me. And I think that, and just finding an outlet for your emotions and having to not just go through shit myself, it's difficult to do that because my emotions are very, 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 very repressed and deep. A lot, you know, and having an outlet for that and really feeling fully in your soul and in your body is such a liberating experience. I love dancing. Even if like I'm not the best dancer, she knows I'm not the best dancer. I know I'm not the best dancer. I don't really care. I'm just doing it to like get in touch with my body and feel that. Because I've never felt so alive. And it was like
I completely agree. The moments where I've had like those intuitive dancing moments, it's such an empowering feeling. And like being an Aries, who are more like action based, right? Like I love that I could like have dance and express emotion in a physical way like that. And I've gotten over so many things by dancing around.
Really?
Like I think one of the like biggest things I've danced to was like Frank Ocean's Blonde album.
Okay, yeah,
and
I see that.
a lot of the lyrics itself, I resonated with a past relationship. But then like acting them out and like singing along and like just dancing and everything, it like put me in a place where I was in my head like reliving these moments, but like because I was dancing, I was like getting them out of my system.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you're like letting it, and that's kind of like to go back to what I was saying about the whole animals and how they just kind of have a moment and they shake off all their trauma. Like that's a very cathartic way of releasing that in a very natural way and just like flow through your body in the way that it wants to.
Yeah.
And that's where I think dance is so therapeutic. At least for me, and I'm sure for many people. But yeah, I think it's beautiful to have moments like that. Really good dance like that. That's really cool.
Dancing is where I feel like the most divinity. Because there's like this moment, like I was saying, where you like, or like I'm imagining my dance moves, which is happening on such like a high level of frequency. You know, it's just like it feels very, very close to divine. And then like when I embody that, like it feels very like choreographed.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's completely like just free spirited. And I don't know. It just makes me think like, you know, where art comes from in like dance or paintings or whatever form of art. It comes from like such a high place where it kind of all exists already in like that realm, and we just kind of learn how to manifest that.
Yeah, it's a Pisces thing.
Yeah, like when I learned how to manifest it through dance, it just, I don't know, it just was like the best thing I've ever experienced.
Yeah, it's such a good feeling especially when it's going through you in like a way, whereas like art, yeah, it's gonna go through you, but it's like more in like your hands, where it's like a full body like sort of like moment with dance. You know, I mean, I'm not really into like art of painting or drawing personally, but yeah, like the physical connecting with the body is so. I just love it.
At moments like that, I felt the most like God.
Okay, love that. Yeah.
And I experienced this a lot at like EDM shows.
Okay, yeah.
Where like of course the vibe is way more open because everyone's just like, you know, happy and like we're listening to great music, and more often than not someone's on drugs or like smoking weed or drinking or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever people do at a concert. But it's like when I'm dancing and just like caught in like the emotion of it, I realize like my actions become a part of the environment, and it almost feels, but I recognize that I'm not controlling the environment. I'm a part of the environment.
Yeah.
But it almost feels like I do get to control things.
Yeah, like you're like influencing it.
Yeah, and I experience this with like lasers that happen, where I'll like do like this. Yeah. And then that's just like me expressing my emotion in dance, and then like the lasers will do that in the same time I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Or like I'll like do a move where I'm like that, and then like I don't know, then like something happens over there where it makes me feel like I did it.
Yeah.
But I just am recognizing that I'm just in tune with my environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, I am watching the show, but also part of it and in it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's the way you should live life, not just concerts. You know, it's like you're part of it, living it, experiencing it, influencing it. You know, everything you do influences the things around you. You know, I think it's beautiful. I'm not really big on EDM. Never been to one. I've been to one concert, but it was just not for me. I like more like vocals and lyrics. And
No, I
just like base like through my bones. I mean, I think it's cool, but like it's not something that I'm like.
I wasn't someone who was really into it too until I went, and then I experienced it with psychedelics. So then,
yeah, so that's another thing. I think that if I experienced psychedelics with it, it would be a whole different thing.
Yeah, and I learned so many amazing lessons from like going to concerts and experienced them in that state of mind. And I think I carry a lot of that with me, like Plur, like that's the whole thing with Plur, and like, you know, I always was like kind of a really, really shy person. In high school, if anyone knew me in school, they would say that I was someone who did not talk. I would just be sitting there, and there would be extroverted people around me, but it was mostly because I was trying to hide, so I would like keep extroverted people around me so I could blend in, so I could be quiet. And it was like going to these shows and being in these states of mind where I like felt like such strong urges to talk to people and step out of my comfort zone.
Love that.
And then because I did it at a concert, I like was like, well, why can't I do that in real life? You know? And why can't I do that sober?
I was gonna say, I was like,
So you know, that kind of helped me integrate that into like my waking life, sober life, where I feel like, I am now a person that is not afraid to like go and talk to someone if I feel the urge to, or dance, or do whatever if I feel the urge to.
Love that. I really love that. That's really awesome. It takes a lot of courage to do that. It takes a lot of vulnerability to be like, this is who I am, and like show that to the world or a stranger or anyone. You know what I mean? Like that's a very difficult thing to do. You know, not a lot of people are born with that. You know, and a lot of people have to learn it. Self-confidence is a thing that I struggle with. You know, and it's a very interesting dance. It's very ironic word choice, but it is.
Fitting.
Yeah, very fitting. Yeah, you know, and it is, and it's just really cool just to see how people grow and mature. See, I would think. I mean, I don't mean that way, but I would have thought that you would have kind of alone been at that point, just only being in Aries and just seeing you. You know, so it's really interesting to see that like I've always been that way.
Yeah, when I would like read like. Early on, I did not believe in any of this stuff because I would read up on like being an Aries, and I'm like, that's not me. I'm not confident. I don't talk a lot. Like, I don't know that person. I'm like probably resonating more with my rising sign, which I had known nothing about at the time. But that was looking back, I was like definitely more in tune with my rising because I wasn't, I guess, stepping into my sun.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I try and avoid my own sun sign as much as I am Scorpionic. Most people can't really tell. And I think if you would have not known and you would have met me, you probably wouldn't have guessed. Because I don't give that vibe because it's very.
You're not wearing any black.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not like covered head to toe. Yeah. And it's I give what I've been told. I give very like Aquarius vibes, which makes sense for my chart. But I tend to avoid my Scorpio stuff because it is very heavy when I do step into that. I have done it. It gets very concerning because I get very intense because I have my Sun, my Mars, my Pluto all conjunct, which are all on top of each other. So my identity is very very Scorpionic, but I just kind of avoid it. I'm like, I'm just gonna act like a Capricorn. I'm gonna act like an Aquarius. That's about it. And then I just kind of, or a Sagittarius with my Mercury, and just like do all this fun shit. And that's why I wish I had more like fire signs in my chart. It's like. My only fire is my Mercury, and it's just like, cool, I'm an exciting talker. That's about it, you know? Like, I don't really have, like, a Mars and Aries, and it should be great, or like a Mars and like Leo. Great, anything in Leo would be fine. Even Aries. Kind of over Sagittarius placements. I think they're kind of obnoxious, personally having one. I just think they're annoying.
I have a lot of Sagittarius friends. I don't know if I would say they're obnoxious. I mean, I guess sometimes.
Yeah.
And I hope no one sees that.
They're like, wow! So yeah, I don't know. I think Sagittarius is super, I don't know, just as a Mercury Sagittarius, it's like my saving grace. Sometimes I hate it, I love it.
I guess they're obnoxious in a way where they're like, so much themselves that they don't really care.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's like Aries on steroids.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like Aries if they were like given speed or some shit, and they were like super like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think maybe what the difference is Aries probably cares a little bit more about their image, so they don't like act out as much because they're like, well, what people think of me.
Yeah, Sagittarius is very much like, give a shit. I'm just gonna go and have sex with random people and just do stupid shit and, you know, go explore my life, which is great. But like, there comes a point where you're like, hey, you should probably settle down. Should probably have some reality. But yeah, no, I get it. Everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. It's all lessons and shit. So, do you have anything else you want to say? I feel like we're like, I mean, I've been talking for,
Yeah, how long?
see.
An hour and 16 minutes.
What? Wow.
yeah. But I mean, I don't know if there's anything else. So we can just continue this conversation off camera. I feel like that's a pretty long time to have that.
Yeah, I think we're good.
You're good? Yeah. Thank you guys for, even if you tune into this entire long-winded conversation. I will be linking his stuff in the bio / all the things, and I'm sure this will go somewhere on your stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So thank you guys, and we'll see you guys later.